6:42 on Daybreak, and now to another unknown story of Western New York. This morning, the story of a man who grew up poor in Buffalo and rose to become one of the leading inventors and authors in the field of treating and preventing blindness.
Dr. Sanford Greenberg is now the chairman of the board of Johns Hopkins School of Medicine's Wilmer Eye Institute. But as we find out in this week's unknown story, it was a friendship struck up in college that changed both men's lives, and in the process led to one of the most popular songs of all time. Sandy Greenberg has seen a lot of changes during his life, but there has been one constant almost from the start.
Sue and I met in 6th grade.
A love that, well, let's just say smoldered for a little while.
That was the most natural thing in the world, is not to speak to a beautiful young woman who ignores you.
But once they got to Bennett High School, Sandy finally mustered the courage to ask her to the charity ball at Kleinan's Music Hall their sophomore year.
I will never forget the excitement, sheer raw excitement I had when I was going to pick her up at her home on 161 Front.
Sandy started to come into his own at Bennett. He was elected class president of the student council. He ran cross country and track, and he was even the prom king. And that paved his way to Columbia University, where his life changed forever. He made friends. Things were going well until the summer after his sophomore year. His vision began to fail during a baseball game and quickly grew worse. What he thought was conjunctivitis was actually glaucoma. And by the end of his first semester, Sandy couldn't even finish his finals. He went home and was told he needed immediate surgery. After that, he was told he would soon be blind, and Sandy decided to quit school.
I was sitting at home in Buffalo quite depressed, and I didn't have much of an exciting view of the upside for myself, my career. And I didn't want to see anybody, and so I didn't talk to anybody, wouldn't write. One day, my beloved friend Arthur shows up, and he says, "Sanford, we must talk."
Arthur was Sandy's best friend and roommate at Columbia, and as they walked up and down Saranac Avenue, Arthur told Sandy he would be his eyes. He would read him his assignments and help get him through. Over the objections of his family, Sandy returned, with Arthur keeping his promise and even adopting a new nickname, Darkness.
He would walk into the room, and at first this surprised me. He said, "Sanford, darkness is going to read to you from the Iliad today."
But the greatest lesson he taught was when they were at Grand Central Station and Arthur told Sandy he had to leave. Sandy had to find his way back to Columbia.
Such as my falling down at one point and hanging halfway over the tracks.
A trek that was a mix of terror and frustration.
And forth, and there was a moment there in which I begged God to let the train sever me.
But he finally made it.
I felt that I could do anything in the world because, after all, I just went through the New York City subway station.
Arthur following all the way.
But after that, the whole world opened up for me.
They ultimately graduated. Sandy went on to Harvard and to Oxford. Much to his disappointment, his old friend Arthur decided to leave architecture school and pursue a different path. And one day, Sandy received a phone call. Arthur asked for a $400 loan. And despite the fact that Sandy and Sue, who were then married, had only $404 in their checking account, Sandy didn't hesitate.
I don't know that there's a time in my life when I ever felt better about myself, about him, and the world.
Arthur had partnered with another old friend, Paul, and the loan funded their debut album, which spawned a song that would ultimately rise to #1 on the Billboard charts in 1966.
Darkness, my old friend.
It was so beautiful that when I first heard it, I was transfixed, couldn't move. And then I began to appreciate more and more over the years.
Arthur, or Art Garfunkel, and Paul Simon's song Sound of Silence was an homage to the friendship of Arthur and Sandy, a friendship that remains strong to this very day.
We're both each other's lifelines still.
And the two are so close. Art is godfather to Greenberg's 3 children. By the way, Sandy says as beautiful as he thinks Sound of Silence is, his favorite Simon and Garfunkel song is actually A Bridge Over Troubled Water. He thinks that song just is amazingly captures their friendship. But his whole story is available in his book, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend.
Probably some of the most famous lyrics in music history, and now we know what they're about, and they're about a man from right here.
And everyone had different ideas what that song is about, but that song is about friendship that's changed two people's lives. So
beautiful.